Shallonitos. It is I, Shalaria. Oh, where is I from? Oh, I too was born in Mallorca. I wasn't born in San Francisco. I was born across the seas in a mystical land. And you know what I should do? I should have 1,000,000 babies and name them after the lands of my peoples, right? That's what I'm going to do. Ha. Well, speaking in that accent, faking it for, I don't know, 29 seconds was exhausting. Can you imagine doing it for 10 years? Hilaria Baldwin can. Today, we are going to do a part 2 of our other Hillary Hayward Thomas, aka Hilaria Baldwin. A breakdown of her con that is breaking down because it was all fake to begin with. If you don't know what's happening, go back to the original video. I do a pretty deep dive into Hilaria Baldwin's super bizarre decade-long grift that she is from Spain and that English isn't her first language when she's actually from Boston, Massachusetts. Where's my fucking Duncan? Gary. How exotic. And in that previous video, we talked about all the fallacious arguments she's using, fallacies we should be aware of when arguing with idiots or liars, how to call them out, and how to win an argument. But today, in this second part, I want to keep roasting her because holy shit, but also talk about how we can be more authentic. Because I think the reason we as human beings are drawn to stories like this is because, I mean, they're so bizarre, but there's also an element of, what if that had been me? Not like any of us would actually do this, to pretend to be a whole different heritage and a whole different language speaker. But like I said in the other video, we live in an age of exaggeration, whether that's face-tuning your selfies, posting like amazing vacation shots when really you only like cruised by the hotel, you didn't actually stay there, picking up a purse in a store and taking a picture of it and you don't own it. It's so easy to lie. It's almost encouraged in our society. And is Hilaria Baldwin, aka American Hillary Hayward Thomas, is she just sort of something that a lot of us experience or get drawn towards, run amok? Is it such an insane thing to think that, well, if I Facetune all my pictures and I Photoshop myself with huge tits and a tiny waist and blah, 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 maybe I'll also be from Singapore. Maybe I will be an Astor or a Romanoff. So, we're going to talk about how to live authentically. How to start not only just the new year, but maybe a new chapter in our lives in a way that is authentic, even if that authenticity is boring, embarrassing, common, cheap, or just not what we want for ourselves. We're going to dismantle why we lie and how we can stop doing it. But first, just want to remind you guys to head on over to my Instagram. You guys suggest topics over there. You get some daily inspiration. I repost stuff. Speaking of, also, if you want a good deep dive on this, follow Tracy Morrissey's Instagram account. I don't know her. I'm just like a weird fangirl. But she did like an incredible dismantling of this. She also did an amazing breakdown of Jamila Jamil, who's on The Good Place, and her like incredible tapestry of lies about her health. I mean, you'll never look at her the same. It is wild. So, Hilaria Baldwin. Hilaria Baldwin. Hun är med Alejandro Caramelita. What the tongue do, girl? She has been laying low on Instagram. This is what she said. She's like, I'm taking a break. And that lasted 3 hours. And maybe time is different in Mallorca, where she says she's from. I don't know. We don't follow the Gregorian calendar. We follow the gods of the sun. I mean, Hillary, get your shit together. And now, of course, there's the second wave of criticism, which is Alec Baldwin clearly had to know about this. And I said this in the first video, but it bears repeating. How has no one staged an intervention with her? Imagine if your sister suddenly, or your best friend, or someone in your life was suddenly like, I am from Russia. I am Anastasia, the daughter of the slain Tsar. I come from Petersburg, and I only speak Russian. This is all I do. You'd be like, Kristen, what are you doing? Are you okay? You wouldn't be like, that's just Kristen. You'd be like, there is something real wrong here. She still talks to her parents. She allegedly has friends. She married someone, and everyone is just like, okay, it's just her. That to me is mind-boggling. But in a way, I think that is almost the most compelling aspect of this, in general. Because when people invent a whole different origin story, it's because their real origin story, for some reason, doesn't suit them. And you can have an extreme version of this dissociative personality disorder, which is basically multiple personality disorders. And people split into multiple personalities like a Horcrux because they've experienced some sort of trauma that they cannot inhabit. They have to create an alternate reality that feels safer or stronger or angrier or whatever it is. And so if this is like an eyedropper baby, tiny baby version of this, maybe, you know what? I can't really in good conscience say that this is her parents' fault. She just seems super fucking weird. Her parents are very educated. They're in academia. They're professors and they're a doctor of this and a doctor of that. And like, they seem like normal, good people who gave her a very normal life. And even the people who come out of the woodwork being like, she's 0% Spanish, I went to high school with her. They all had very complimentary things to say. She was very kind. She was very warm. She was sweet. Everyone liked her. But this whole, I Spanish? No. The whole thing is very, very strange. And we said in the other video sort of why she might have done this, from Salma Hayek to ballroom dancing. It's a whole thing. But if you look at it from a psychological standpoint, it's like, did she start lying because there was something about her origin story that brought her shame or that was filled with trauma? Now, obviously, we don't know about the trauma thing. Shame, I mean, that's a pretty hard argument to make because, like I said, you look at her family and it's like, what was really wrong there? You were healthy, rich, very well educated, listened to, you got to engage in your hobbies, your parents paid for you to do ballroom dancing. That shit's not cheap. It takes up a lot of time. You had a lot of bases covered that a lot of people don't, right? And so there's no real need for that level of shame. So let's talk about lies and why people lie, right? And obviously, lying is bad. It's very bad. It's incredibly self-corrosive. It's corrosive to our relationships. It's corrosive to society in general. Both on the micro, like you don't want to be around liars, you don't want to date a liar, and you also don't want to see liars on Instagram or, on social media. And this is why I do what I do. Because I worked Star Magazine for years, and I would see the behind the scenes machinations of celebrities. I would see how rude they are, how crazy, how fake as fuck they are, from their bodies and what they're posting to what's actually in real life to their personalities. Oh, I'm just so kind. Oh, I'm a victim. Oh, it's my mental health. It's like, you're actually just a bad person, dude. And so I wanted to shine a light on that because we compare ourselves not just to people, but to social masks, right? I will never forget. And when I think of a social mask, I always think of this girl, Jamie. She was friends with some of my friends in New York, and we were like 24 at the time. And we were all broke, and like there were 3 of us in an apartment, and we were making 30 grand a year, but we were like alive, and that's what we should have been doing at that age. So we were just alive and, saving up to go to brunch and stuff like that. There's a lot of beauty in it. But Jamie had Vuitton brand new North Face jackets every season. Like, you don't need a new jacket every season. She was splashing out. She was going to Soul Cycle, and we were like, where is she getting this money? And we were like, oh, she must make a lot. She was like in sales, but like almost like telemarketing, but we didn't know. Or we thought, okay, it's her parents. And my other friend was like, her parents are like very blue collar. Like, unless they're mortgaging the house so she can like flex in New York. But it's like, we didn't think too hard about it. I just remember comparing myself to Jamie all the time and feeling like such a failure. Man, look at how much money she's making. Here I am in the dungeons of Shape magazine, re-racking clothes because I'm an intern and then I'm going to my waitressing job. I remember beating myself up about that because I'm like, I should be so much further along. I should be so much further along. And this has been like the rallying cry of my whole career. That's a whole separate thing. But it was like this embodiment of what I wasn't achieving. And I was basing that on everything that she owned, all these expensive things. Cut to 18 months later, she's basically, not like there's debtor's prison, but she was sued by her credit card company. She was 24 and a half by that time because she had run up, what was it, $120,000 in credit card debt? social mask. None of what we saw was real. None of this like successful, glamorous, oh, I don't care, I'm so wealthy, I'm so aristocratic. None of it was real. And that changed my life. Because then I realized the beauty in authenticity. And I didn't realize it immediately overnight, but it sowed the seeds, right? And my authenticity, my quest for authenticity started with financial authenticity. I can't afford to do that, you guys. I'm sorry. It's the same jacket from last season. Whatever. I still get laid. Doesn't matter. And my friends skewed in another direction at the time. Like they were going for the cloud and the flossy things and the Balenciaga, not Balenciaga, but you know what I mean. And I was like, you know what? I live here because this is where I can afford to live. I wear this. I shop at TJ Maxx and Marshall's because this is where I can afford to shop, right? And I felt so good about that. I mean, of course, you want to feel like you're keeping up with the Joneses. But when I leaned in to the worst case scenario, this is what I can afford. This is how much money I make. This is where I'm going to live. No, I'm not going to do that. Sorry. I don't want to go to SoulCycle. I can work out at the gym for free. It gave me this foundation of confidence to be so much more authentic in other categories of my life. But let's back up. Let's talk more about why people lie. Because there's a variety of reasons, and studies have shown that lying is as bad, with an asterisk though. Bad, but can save relationships. You do not look fat. Of course, I'm not attracted to Jason Momoa's. Gross. Mom, of course you're my favorite parent. You know, I mean, we have to, lies in many ways are the lubrication of a functioning society, right? We need to be sort of like massaged and petted and told, oh, it's okay. Of course, no. Of course the treatments are going to work. You're going to be fine. No, it's not going to leave a scar. No one can tell. We need to hear that. Our ego needs it. Brutal honesty is exactly that. It can be brutal, and that can be just as corrosive and destructive as the opposite end of the spectrum, which is just crazy lies all the time, where you're making decisions based on realities that don't actually exist. But that's when people are lying to you. What about when you lie? Why would you lie? So we lie to lubricate society and interactions, right? We lie to stay out of trouble. This is a big one. And I think women do that. Well, you know what? I'm not going to say women. I think everyone does this a lot, right? It's like, I was out with the boys. No, we just like hung out at Tyler's house and played cards. Well, yeah, maybe, but maybe they went to the bar and got a beer and like Ashley was there. And oh my God, why bring that up to your girlfriend? She's not going to want to hear it. I've been in several relationships where I realized very early on, honesty was not the best policy. I wasn't going to get any points for being honest about how I knew someone or when we had hooked up. And even though we were dating, but we weren't official yet, like there was actually not going to be a prize for integrity. So I was like, well, fuck it. Like, why would I tell the truth, get myself in the doghouse, create a big thing when I could just be like, no, we never hooked up. And the issue is closed, right? And part of that, my own weakness. Part of that is toxic relationships that box you in a way where you're like, I have to lie my way out of this. So that's a reason that we lie. Another huge reason we lie, and this is why Hilaria Baldwin lies, is deep insecurity. Deep insecurity. And that sounds funny. Wait a minute, liars are insecure? They seem very confident. They seem narcissistic, psychopathic even. And some of them are, absolutely. But your average run-of-the-mill person who's lying, and we all know people like this. It's like, oh, where'd you get those sunglasses? They're Gucci, they're real. It's like he got them, they're from American Eagle. I was with him when he got them. Okay. Like, oh, how'd the race go? I won. No one was even close. He didn't win. It's fine. He came in third, but he still ran a good race. We know people like this. They're chronic exaggerators. They're just chronic liars. And I said in the previous video that I dated someone who lied about the weather, pretended it rained and it hadn't. And I told myself at the time, I was like texting my friends, I was like, this is some Dateline shit. Like, this speaks to an extremely worrisome pathology. And I don't know what to do with this information. But because I wasn't ready to leave the relationship yet, I told myself, you know what? He lies about the little things. If he needs to do that to feel whatever, at least he's not lying about the big things. And oh, he was. Oh, he was. And I realized the crucial part of the sentence I said to myself. If he needs to lie to feel whatever, okay. What's whatever? I should have taken a few beats to figure out how I defined whatever. What that actually meant. Because what it meant was he needed to feel interesting, like he had something to say. Oh my God, you missed the storm. That's crazy. I was like, oh, when, hey, good morning would have sufficed. He needed to feel on the scene. He needed to feel in control of the conversation. And that all relates to very low self-esteem, right? And had I known that, I would have looked at this as from a more global perspective and been like, of course he's going to lie about the big shit, Shallon. Of course he's going to lie. If he can't even be honest about the weather, you think he can be honest about how many girls he's fucked while you guys were still together? No. So people lie because they don't feel good. They don't feel like the truth is good enough. So how do we overcome this? Because clearly this is what Hilaria Baldwin is thinking. And I understand not loving your origin story. I've never lied about like my family or anything like that, but I also didn't lead with it. I grew up with a single mom in a very affluent town and a time when there really weren't single parents. And if they were, they were poor, you know, like, and the daughters were pregnant by 15 and like they worked at the drugstore or whatever. It wasn't like, oh yeah, it's her mom and two dads and mom became a dad. That was not a thing. Not really a thing. I mean, it was in other places. It just wasn't in my hometown. In Orange County, California, it was not that. And so I grew up with this sense of like, not shame, because my family was so loving and so stable and so happy. There just wasn't dad. And some of the houses who had dad, not stable at all. So I was like, fine. But I was sort of like conditioned that like, hey, this is a weird thing. Like, don't talk about it. Don't lead with it. And it wasn't until I got to New York and I met people who had all sorts of different family backgrounds that I'm like, wow. And I looked around at the people who did have those perfect families and how messed up they were, what failures to launch they ended up being, how their families ended up disintegrating, and like, wait, perfect suburban dad was actually a coke addict and had a whole other family. The mom who baked everyone cookies was an alcoholic and is dead from cirrhosis of the liver. What? So I learned to reframe my origin story. And now my origin story is my favorite story. It's not a story of a victim, a weirdo, an outcast, a girl who didn't belong in a beautiful place and all these perfect people. It's a story of a fucking champion. Yeah. I had all these negative expectations placed on me. Oh, Shallon, single mom, no doubt she's going to be pregnant. Really? Because I was like king of high school. I got into an incredible college. I did more than any of those people ever expected times a million. And I talk, revenge is my love language. I used revenge to fuel me to do these things, and great. It's a pretty good motivator. But there was definitely times when I wanted to lie about my family. Oh, my father was an astronaut. He died in space. He died in space. It was tempting, and it's like, no one's going to know. But I refused to let myself do that. And then that was the foundation of me switching the origin story from victim narrative and, be ashamed of it, to champion story. So how can we do this in our own lives? I want you to think about, not necessarily the things you lie about. We don't even need to start there because those are very difficult conversations to have with ourselves, right? I want you just to think about the things you want to lie about. The things you want to lie. Those pictures you want to Photoshop. That purse that doesn't belong to you that you want to post and pretend that it does. Right? I want you to look at best and worst case scenarios. I'm a big believer in looking at worst case scenarios because monsters live in the dark. So we got to throw some light on things. Let's say everyone knew your purse was from TJ Maxx and no one thought you owned a Gucci bag. Just sit right in that. Or whatever it is. What if you drove an absolute hoopty, but it was what you could afford? It was a hand-me-down from your grandmother. It's hideous and enormous, like a big ghastly boat. Okay. What if you had to live in the Bronx because you couldn't live in Tribeca? Okay. What if you had to go to community college because you couldn't afford a Dartmouth? Okay. Or you just didn't get in? Okay. What's the worst case scenario there? Not in terms of the actuality, I have to live in the Bronx, I have to go to community college. In terms of perception. Because that's why people lie. It's not the reality, it's perception. I don't want to be seen as this. Because we're already poor and wearing fake Gucci or whatever it might be. I need people to see me as something else. What am I going to do if they didn't? Okay, tell me. Walk into that nightmare scenario. You didn't get into Dartmouth. Now what? Who is actually judging you for that? Your enemies? That's the only thing I can think of. It's not your friends. It's not your loved ones. It's not your companion. It's none of that. It's your enemy. And you might say, well, I don't think I have any enemies. Well, who are the people you think are judging you? That's what makes an enemy. And sometimes that's your mom. That's your sister. That's your boyfriend throwing stones at you and poking at your emotional underbelly. That's your best friend since you were 12, but actually she's kind of a bitch and she's not supportive and she's not fucking happy for me. When we feel the need to lie, we localize the fear reaction, like the worst case scenario, if we get really granular on just like a few people. We talked about this recently in a video about how to be an influencer and how you have to slay the dragon of dignity, right? And I had to do that. And I was like, I can't post this and I can't call myself that because these people are going to judge me. And if I really got like specific about who those people were, it was like 3 people from middle school who I don't talk to, they don't follow me. And I'm like, this is what's holding me back. This bizarre, like phantasmagorical poltergeist that I've invented. Get a grip, Shallon. Same with lying. Who actually needs you to have that Gucci bag, to go to Dartmouth? And of course, that's a bigger thing. But we're talking about these other things because there's slippery slopes, right? Who in your life requires this of you to the point that if it doesn't organically happen, you have to fake it? I think what you're going to find is that you're projecting things that aren't really that probable. And if they are, you need to look at the people who have turned you into an inauthentic liar and ask yourself, why is this the price tag on that person? I can't be honest with my boyfriend because he's going to make fun of me. Or I can't be honest with him because he's going to scream at me. And so I have to tell him, I can't tell him I'm out with my friends. I have to tell him I was at the library. Why the fuck is that acceptable? Fuck blood. Fuck a wedding ring. Fuck a best friendship. Fuck it all. I am not giving that part of myself up for anybody. If you are in my life, you are enriching my life. You're not eroding it. You're not turning me into this monster that I don't even recognize. We don't feel good when we lie. To the point that our nonverbal cues try to stop us from lying, right? When we lie, we unconsciously want to cover our mouth, cover our hand. Why? Because it's what it is. We're trying to stop the lie from coming out of our mouth. Isn't that fascinating? Your body doesn't want to lie because it creates what? Cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance is when how you're behaving or the circumstances, the reality does not match what you want or what you think about yourself, right? I'm a good person, but I beat my child, or I cheat on my husband, or I ran over that squirrel and laughed about it. That's cognitive dissonance. I'm an honest person. We all have these ideas of ourselves. I'm good, I'm honest, I'm worthy, right? We should. But then we're in positions where it's like, well, then why am I lying? Why am I lying about the weather? Why am I lying about whether I own a Gucci bag? And what am I doing? What am I doing? What are you doing? Why? So there might be other reasons why we foist these, like this imaginary Greek chorus onto a certain few people. Either it is imaginary and we're just like, this is our own emotional projection, right? It's like, I feel like I have to do this and they require it of me, even though they're like, I don't fucking care if you have a Gucci bag. I don't even care where you go to college. I just want you to be happy. It's totally fine. Or sometimes these are realistic things. And like I said, those are enemies and they need to be weeded out of your life. The things that need to change is not what you say and how you act and blah, blah, blah. It is the people who are forcing you into a place of inauthenticity. A trick I like in order to be more authentic and live a more honest life is micro-authenticity. So that's what I call it. I don't know, maybe somebody else calls it that, but I call it that. If we have trouble being honest about, let's say, how we feel in a relationship. I don't love him anymore, but I don't know how to leave, so I'm faking it. My friend is not nice to me, but I don't know how to get away from her or whatever. Or I just tell people what they want to hear. I'm a people pleaser. I just take on all this work at my office, even though I'm so stressed. I just can't say no. That's kind of a form of lying. Sure, it's okay. No, it's fine. No, I'll take the project. I don't need a weekend. Want to sleep. I'll sleep when I'm dead. That's not healthy. So I want us to practice radical transparency in other aspects of our life. We are going to keep it 100 with either certain scenarios or certain people. I would prefer certain people, right? Because scenarios, like, how many scenarios really are there? It's like, what am I going to be super honest with the barista? Like, how's your day? You know what, Karen? It's shitty. Like, we don't need to employ our radical transparency. Like we said, it's the lubrication of society. It's like, today, it's great. How are you? Fantastic. All right. That's how we have to operate as a society, right? So I would rather you pick a person and keep it 100 about what you're doing. Be like, you know what? I just feel, and you don't have to say, I am a chronic liar. I'm a micro liar. Little white lies everywhere. You can say, I just feel like this year, this job, this whatever, has sort of eroded me, and I'm losing my sense of identity. And I feel like the way to get it back, blame it on me. Like this crazy ass YouTuber, Shallon Lester, is giving us the challenge to just be super, super honest with one person in our life. One person. Ideally, it's someone who you trust and who will help you become better. Maybe it's your sister, maybe it's your grandmother, someone who also values honesty and isn't going to judge you, so that you can create a safe space to really just keep it real. And that's going to manifest in a bunch of ways, right? It could be, you know what? I've never liked your boyfriend. No, I know. I've said I don't. And you know what? I don't have time to watch your daughter. Every time I've said I had to cancel something else. I'm so sorry. I can't. Because why do we lie? To avoid getting in trouble. And sometimes we have to, and sometimes it's the erosion. It comes at the expense of ourselves. And it's a very lying and not having boundaries. They walk hand in hand, right? When I developed financial boundaries, no, I can't afford that. I don't want to do that. No, I'm saving to pay off my taxes and my credit card bill. Okay, I'm not going to do that. It gave me, well, look at me, strong person. It gave me the power to be authentic and have boundaries in other aspects of my life. No, 11 p.m. for a first date? I don't think so. Nice try. Oh, were you talking shit about me, Kristen? That's interesting. Why don't you say it to my face? Why? Why did those two things relate? Because monsters live in the dark. And when you have a boundary and you are clear about it and you stick to it and you have the attitude of, fuck it, either you're going to be cool with this or you won't. Sounds like a you problem. This is my safe space, whether it's financial, physical, emotional, whatever it is. And if you have a problem with it, well, what do we say about people who hate our boundaries? They're the ones who benefited from you having none at all. And so either you're smoking out an actual enemy, someone who doesn't take you seriously and who only kind of wants to take, and it doesn't have to be from a malicious place, but some people are just like that. And it also shows you the world doesn't end. The world doesn't end. When we are honest, we are magnetic. We are magnetic because we're pack animals and we respond to leaders. And what is a leader? A leader stands up. They take a stand. They make the bold declarations to come with me. I'm going to help you. We're forming a tribe. They're out in front. And you're not out in front if you're like, oh, I'm so sorry. No, yeah, I'll do this. And that's how lying feels. We feel just like a kite in the wind. We just feel battered around. It's like, I don't want to be this person. We want to tell the truth, right? We want that. So if we can start cultivating that in either one sector, like I said, financially, hey guys, you know what? I'm not doing brunch anymore. I remember when I said to my friends, and this was years ago, I was like, I'm not doing group birthday dinners anymore. I'm not doing it. They're expensive. I end up having 2 shrimp. Suddenly I'm paying $85. I'm trapped at this table for 2 hours sitting next to some dipshit from your vocal lesson. I'm not doing, and I was just super honest. I was like, hey, I love you guys. I'll meet you for drinks after. I'll celebrate before. I'll drop off a cake. I can't do a group dinner. I hate them. And people were like, I hate them too. And it started this group dinner revolution. I also said that about tapas. I hate tapas. And I was like, I'm not eating tapas anymore. So if you guys want to go to tapas, I'll meet you after. I'm not doing it. No. And some people were like, what a bitch. I'm like, okay, well, fuck you, Megan. Like, okay, if that's how you feel, thank you for letting me know. Thank you that you actually only wanted me as a function of capitulation. Well, let's invite Shallon because she's going to do whatever we want. And if she doesn't, if she has a mind of her own, that isn't even impressing on anyone else. I'm not saying nobody else can do it. Then she can go fuck herself. It's fine by me. Bye. I'm not afraid of being alone. That's another component. If we look at what we think the worst case scenario is, and a lot of times when we lie, it's a lack of social inclusion. Oh my God, they're going to think I'm poor, or they're going to think I'm stupid, or they're going to think I'm this, so I have to inflate myself. And like Hilaria Baldwin, she obviously thought, being from Massachusetts, the child of professors, for God's sakes, wasn't good enough. It wasn't exotic enough. And again, that speaks to a very low self-esteem, coupled with, I don't know, narcissism. She's just so incredibly bizarre. She's so bizarre. And again, the fact that she couldn't stay off Instagram for 3 hours shows me she's a fiend. She's a cold-blooded animal. She fiends off that attention. And she acts like she cares if it's positive or negative. She clearly doesn't. So when you have those boundaries, and when you walk in the light of the truth, radical transparency, no matter who might not like it, no matter the trouble it might cause, when you are then able to put writing on the wall about people and situations in your life, wow, now you're making decisions based on reality. Because before, like we said, lies, you're making decisions on reality. Didn't exist. Do my friends like me? I don't know. Do they only like me because I go and eat tapas and gag it down? I don't like it. It's just so expensive. Like, it's like $12 for like 3 little things. And it doesn't matter how many people are at the table. If there's 4 people, they'll bring you 3. If there's 3 people, they'll bring you 2. It's like they do it on purpose. The chefs are like, like, we're just going to make it a completely odd number because like women cannot like just claim the last bite. We have to cut it into 11,000 pieces. It's all fried. And I always have to go and eat a whole other meal after. I'm a husky girl. I need a lot of food. Anyway, it's my tapas rant. When we can stand up for ourselves, demonstrate those boundaries, like I said, we become magnetic. And there might be a cleaning out period. There might be. There might be people like, well, fuck you. But you know what I bet a lot of people are going to say? I like you so much better. Who wants to be around a jellyfish of a person? Oh, do you want to do that? Okay. Oh, no. Oh, no. I mean, neither. No, that's gross. But once I moved away from that, and once I was like, you know what? If you don't like me, dude, I don't care. I don't care, man. I'm so tired. I'm so busy. I'm too busy and I'm too tired to lie. And I don't care. If you walk out of my life, that's 2 more hours I have in a week. Yes. Thank you. I can watch The Crown uninterrupted. And ironically, that's when everything changed. That's when I got not just friends, I got best friends. I got ride or dies. That's not just when I found a boyfriend. I found love, right? That's not just when, oh, I had a job. I was the master and commander of my industry. But it all comes back to being bold enough and brave enough to just stand in your truth and be like, even if I'm the only one in this light, I'd rather be alone in the light of the truth than have company in the darkness. It's a really corrosive way to live. And we can't do that to ourselves. And I look at Hilaria Baldwin and I'm like, doesn't she feel a modicum of relief? I would. And you hear about criminals and they've been caught after a long time and they're like, I'm just glad you got me. It's exhausting to lie, you know? But she, as we are seeing, is doubling down and making all these excuses and contradicting herself. I mean, she's flat out, she's lying again. And it's like, well, of course, she spent the last 10 years lying. Why would we now expect all this truth from someone who is a practiced professional liar? So who knows where this is going to go? Alec is just, man. What if he sees these videos and like comes for me? Although his eloquence, he told one dude to go fuck himself and was like, you really couldn't come with anything better. And then his other indictment about the original person who tweeted, it's like Hilaria's decade-long grift pretending she's Spanish. He was like, you're like a dirty coaster with the stains and also the rings on them. People are like, wait, what? A coaster? This is very bizarre. So do your worst, bro. Okay. I want to know what you guys find yourself lying about, feeling like you need to lie about. Is it predicated on a situation, on a person? Are there just people that you're like, I cannot tell this person the truth? And if so, why are they still in your life? And say it's family. We can't just always cut family out. I get it. How can you take steps to either live more authentically, even if it's like, I can be honest with my mom for 45 minutes every Sunday at coffee, but if I have to spend the whole weekend with her, I'm just going to start shucking and jiving and telling her what she wants to hear, right? And I can't do that. So maybe it's that you limit an interaction for the amount of truth you can give it, or how can you just limit that person in general? I want to talk more about this. Stay tuned in the next few days. We've got videos on how to leave behind 2020 because it's just been a garbage year, and how we can move on from the collective trauma we've experienced, let go of things and start fresh. And then to move into 2021, we're going to do a video on manifestation and how to manifest some amazing things for the year ahead. I'll see you later, Shalligators. Ay, Dios mío, I'm so sorry. Vaya con Dios, Shalligators. Shallaria is signing off for now. I can't even do it. 10 years. God bless you, girl. See you later.